Well, the gauntlets are going to go on for this little job. There seems to be a real growth spurt on with these brambles, so they're all coming off. And then I've got to tackle the stingers, and I've got my shorts on, which is probably not a good idea, but there we are. So today I've got a few things to do, including sorting out my carrots. But first of all, I'm going to get this clear so that I can get a hose out and get some water, because it's a real problem. I'm absolutely dried out, and there's a storm coming, but it hasn't arrived yet, and the plants won't wait any longer, so it's got to be done. I'm very fortunate that I've got a neighbour who's happy for me to connect to their outside tap, and that makes a big difference, because I've got probably 7 water butts and 2 IBC tanks, but during a dry spell it all goes, and fairly rapidly. And of course the polytunnel is the biggest sapper of all the water. Right, I can get through this bit, I'll work my way around. My carrots that were ravaged by the cats, to be honest, I think they've virtually disappeared, and I might change tact and convert this into something else, because I really can't see any carrots at all in there now. It's a real shame, but they certainly did a lot of damage, those cats. In the polytunnel, things are looking good. I'm going to have to start harvesting lettuce now, otherwise we're going to be overrun by it. But everything else is looking well. And today's the day that I'm going to move some of these carrots. So I'll get my snips and we'll have a look at what needs to be done. Well, I've been asked if I can get down a bit closer when I'm doing these sort of jobs, so I'm going to try and do that. Well, just taking a look at this box of carrots. The objective here is to have a single carrot in each station, and I've got a couple of areas where the carrot is either very small, like this one, or I don't have anything at all, like that one. And I sowed a couple of carrot seed in each location so that I left myself options. So let's do the ruthless bit first. That one's in the wrong place. That one's not doing so well, so they're coming out. I've constantly got some bindweed in here, so I remove that pretty much every day. It's the only real way of keeping on top of it. There's a little bit of grass and things around. And I'm looking at these carrots thinking, where do I need to place an additional one? So on the face of it, there's one there, one here, and one there. So I'm looking for 3 carrots, and I'm going to pick the healthiest carrots I can to move, and then I'll get to deciding which of these carrots I'm going to remove altogether. So we've got a cluster of 3 down here which are very healthy, and what I'm going to do is make myself quite a deep hole. And if you remember, I put compost into effectively a tube there, and I'm just going to tease low down, and so I can get this carrot to come up with its full root, and then I'm just quite simply going to drop that down. I want it to be deep enough to take the whole root without turning it up, and then I'll just push together so that it squeezes down onto the root and leaves no air gap. And then that one is well and truly moved. Make sure it's nice and firm around the top. And yeah, it will just lean over a little bit. I might just put a bit of a mound around it to hold it up, and we'll just let that one root. And I'm going to take another one from the same location and that'll leave me just one plant here, which is my objective. And it's got to be quite gentle, and it's pulled the other plant out, which is not what I wanted to do, but I'm just going to mound that one up as well and firm it down. I know you can't see this, but it's just the same as I've done with the other one. And that leaves me another long-rooted plant, and that's going to go in here. So we don't want them out of this soil for very long. There we go. Got quite a nice hole down there. And this one's quite long, so I'm just going to drop him down very carefully. Give him a bit of a wiggle, get him to the right level, and again push in. And there we are. He's moved in there quite nicely. That just leaves me one more to do. So what are we going to choose? It's best to pick a carrot that is not too close to the others, so that I can move it without disturbing the other one. And here we go. And that seems to be quite a good intact root. So I'm going to lean over and get this last hole made. And it does help that it's not quite so deep. There we go. And push around there. And that's the 3 stations that were emptied, sorted out. And what I'm going to do now is just snip the carrots that are the weakest, so that it just leaves one. So that one, for example, is coming out. That way I don't disturb the root of the one that I'm going to leave. And I just have to be careful that there's 3 there that I've moved that might not work out. And therefore I need to leave myself a couple to be in the background just in case. So there's 2 reasonable ones there. I'll probably leave those. 2 there. I'll leave those. There's grass here. And this one's very close together, so I'm going to pick the healthiest. There's not much between them. So I've decided I'm going to take that one and clip the other one out. And there's 2 here, so that's 3 pairs. So if this did fail, I can have another go. In the meantime, I'm going to work my way around and just take out any that I don't want to keep. So there's 3 here, really good healthy plants, but sadly they're going. And that'll just put all the emphasis onto the one plant. Okay, well, I'll work round. I might leave myself just a couple of extras, because I know that when I pulled them out of here, I left one that was just a little bit moved, and that might give it some trouble, so we'll be careful. There we are. So we're down to singles, apart from these pairs which are back up. And you have to be quite careful doing this, not too much movement, because of course you attract the dreaded carrot root fly, and we want to make sure that we don't do that. So I'm going to dispose of those cuttings carefully, and then I'll just give these a light water and job done. Well, my paths are also suffering from quite a bit of weed growth, and as I go around these beds I'll pull out anything that's really obvious. And of course it's the mare's tail and also a few thistles and dandelions, but they're not my priority. The priority is in the beds, and we'll get onto that next. I'm going to speed it all up so you can sit back. Well, little and often is the best way to approach weeds. And I often say at this point that no dig really helps, but it isn't a silver bullet. It doesn't stop the weeds growing. They still grow, but in lesser quantities, I think. So you've got to keep hitting the old weeding, and then it's never too big a chore. And that took me probably 15 minutes to do that whole area. So on to doing this area, which has got the added complication of removing all the nets, which it can be a bit of a pain, but There we are, keeps the cats off. So let's go. Took a little longer, probably 20 minutes. Let's take a little look. It's nice to see the veg with the nets down. You can see there the broccoli where I've lost 1, 2, 3 I think, and some of these are a little bit small, but others are doing well. The turnips and the shallots are looking really good. The beetroot have put on a bit of a growth spurt. They're all of a sudden sprouting additional leaves. And the Bedfordshire champions, they had a little bit of grass seed around them if anything, but that was easy to clear. And your alliums love to be free of weeds, so if you're going to prioritise anything, I'd prioritise them. And the cabbage and the spring onions, again, very little weed in there. Took only a few minutes to pull out. And anybody who's thinking, why bother doing raised beds? Well, they make that process so much more enjoyable. I'd call it tending to the crops rather than weeding. It's really no trouble at all. This one I just lifted the net because I'd already weeded it recently. And this is where the Swede's going, so we're not going in there yet. And the Globo onions, all looking pretty good actually. And again, not too much weed in. So what's that, 2, 4, 6 beds. And that's the weed that came out of them. And as you can see, mainly the dreaded mare's tail or horse's tail. Well, that's me done for today. It feels good. The whole of the allotments for fun and food officially weeded. And the last bit was the garlic, which is really grown very well. And I'm pleased just to keep the weed away from it for these last few weeks that it's going to grow. And the plot is looking probably at its best for this time of year, subject to a bit of a mowing because that's still growing. But it's great to see everything weeded, and really didn't take more than an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And all these plants have been released from the bindweed, which has found its way in. So, from sunny South Wales, until next time, bye bye. I do hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, click the subscribe button, click the like button, and if you want updates from me each time I upload a video, click the bell and select all. I do hope you have a great day. Diolch yn fawr.